So glad it's fall, my favorite season.
I'll take summer all year, sorry.
Is Sue here back there?
She'll be here shortly.
Oh. Oh, thank you, sir.
Would you? What's that?
What changes,
I'm sorry?
what changes are in this?
Dates only.
Dates only, okay. The next one, the third Wednesday, right? Only the third Wednesday. All right, I should probably here. Be in Savannah for 3 weeks. I'll be in Savannah for 3 weeks. We'll be. Nice to meet you. But I'll be back. I'm going right after.
That's so funny, yeah. So it's just there. Come
Today.
That's good. You come to give with that.
Well, that's good.
And that's funny, because, sort of, I'm just talking to everybody. And I went.
Not the best idea you've ever.
No.
Well, and I can't remember. And this page just really like to be my food. I'll call it in.
Peter.
How you been? How you been? How was Lyle?
Ah.
Beautiful? Yeah. Oh, yo, so. Hey, John, thank you. That's really cool. No, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like our, yeah. Okay. We need to.
The what?
Hey, Dave.
The Kerrville project passed through the quick woods.
Why? Close enough.
You know what that refers to?
Yeah, the quiet.
Oh, there's.
The path and water. Bridge. Yeah.
With the.
Yeah. Some of them have been cut down.
Oh.
Anyway.
But we'll see.
Yeah, we marked out, actually, it was, not even marked out.
Oh,
No. Shapiro.
Oh,
I didn't walk through the site and said, pick out who that should stay. And they worked around the streets. One of them, that she said should stay. Yeah. But they didn't do service. But they didn't do service. Yeah. But having a lot of fun. Water. Your neck of the woods. I heard there's a lot to think about. What? You had nothing, but. Yeah, they help. What? Yeah. Well, right on. One almost doesn't do like this.
Oh, that's right.
It's 83 now. For the last. Right. I don't know. Okay. Exactly. That explain. A lot of footwork when.
Can't wait to do the rest. We only did. Oh, really? Yeah.
He's gotta get another job.
That'll be too easy. I gotta admit, as I was walking here, I turned around to look. Because it's just so. Thank you.
Now, for.
Peter said that, I appreciated that. Yeah.
How you been? Family?
Number 6 on the agenda.
Oh, what's the number 5?
Improvements that cause flooding.
No, it's all hopefully in February.
You can lump us in with the sun. It's resolved, it's resolved, but it's good enough,
For you.
Somebody. Now we
Yeah, 2 weeks ago.
Somebody has one.
Yeah.
They wanted to build a firm, play hard, we never did. They keep no more good.
You know, it's too down, the clock, you notice that it's constantly running. It's running. There's a guy who comes through, walks. Like it's part of his job.
Yeah.
To come in, make sure all the lines.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he did, he was Steve, but he's got this kind of over there, dad, and others, everybody. He's one who does.
Make sure. Or her initial, that's all her sister.
Yes. She's doing, I know she's still, seeds and stuff like that. She doesn't know what you're talking about.
hey, I'm John.
Hey, John.
House across the way.
That's the one that.
I got a copy for Dave.
Always work on, always improve.
See you tomorrow.
Really, 11 o'clock.
11 o'clock. Yep, 11 o'clock.
What's this, court, traffic court?
Third time. $50 ticket.
But she won't show up again.
Summary execution.
And that tomorrow?
Yeah.
Oh.
Oh. Oh, my God, there it is. All right. Here, this is yours.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is about that time. Round Lake Village Board of Trustees meeting for October 16, 2024. It is called to order. Please rise for the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, first order of business is public comment. Keith, did you want to be heard?
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's the right time because I know
Public comment.
yeah, I'm here for specifically to talk about the lights. So I don't know if I do that after you guys discuss it or before.
Now.
Okay, so I'm just obviously here. I know I've talked to the other neighbors like Don and Debbie and Brandon and Angela next door. You know, I don't want to speak for them, but you know, we're having issues obviously with the basketball court lights and a lot of people out there pretty late, you know, into the AM. I mean, so if there's anything that could be done, maybe putting it back on a timer, that'd be great. I know it's not the same issue, but if there's anything that we could put caps on the streetlights, that'd be cool too. I know that's probably a different issue. Thank you.
I'll take a quick stab at that. We are looking at instituting hours on the park so that we have some standing, some legal standing. If, to chase people out after 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock. As far as the timer, I talked to NICEAG and they said that there's really not a way to do that. For the lights, the shields, thank you, that deflect down, they're looking into that. I have not heard back. I know we looked into it a couple of years ago and,
They
I got-
are, they are an additional cost.
they are,
Yes.
oh, but they're available?
They can look into the, yes, they're potentially available, but they cost per unit. And I think they have to look at specifically what the tenancy is that we have in the
Yeah.
village.
So we are working on getting some more information on.
But
Okay.
NICEAG owns the lights, we do not own the lights or the posts, and so we can't do anything to them, like the village can't put a timer on.
Yeah, I know in the past we've been told to maybe call them, give the numbers and try to get those covers on, but if it's not that expensive, I'll buy the cover.
Yeah, well, it's not as straightforward as maybe it is.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's something I think a lot of people would be.
I know they didn't have the covers for the old lights.
Correct, yeah.
These are new lights, so I'll follow up on that.
The other thing we can follow up on too is whether or not, like, so theoretically, the LED lights are supposed to shine directly downwards, right? So they're not as much spread as the old lights were, but sometimes the lights themselves are not perpendicular to the ground, we may tilt up one way or the other, so I think that's another thing that we could look at as well, as making sure that they're installed correctly or not tilted or whatever.
Okay. You're mute, David. Keith, I mean.
Yes, I get it. We got to do a little more research. It's just for us, I know we've had to put in the blackout curtains and it still doesn't really help a lot, but I appreciate you listening.
All righty, thank you.
Thank you.
Public comment? The electrician should be coming tomorrow. That wasn't it? For the flagpole.
The light on the flagpole?
Johnny talked to him today. We had a little misunderstanding. He thought I was getting in touch. I thought he was getting in touch, but he is scheduled to come tomorrow, so we can see him.
Okay, did they mention that light stays on all day too? Might want to look at that.
He was looking at the timer today.
It's not.
It's a light sensor, I think, on top of it. isn't it?
This is the one that has the light sensor. That was the one we were looking at for the sensor. Okay.
Okay. He was here about 40 minutes looking at sensors.
Okay, what's going on with that fire truck? Again, I hate to see that thing sit there and rot away, and that's what it's doing.
I know, I asked Johnny to get it running, which will force me to make a decision on it, one way or another. I have been investigating on whether we have to take the siren off and the lights and stuff like that before we sell it to a private individual, and I just heard from New York Conference of Mayors attorneys that, and concurred with Tom's opinion that he didn't believe that anything had, but that after have them sign a disclaimer saying that they know that they can't use it for.
Okay. Have you looked into anything about the tennis court fence, maybe?
I walk by there every morning with the dog, and I just have to figure out. We can't really put it right along the asphalt. Because then, well, anybody running is going to run into it. That would be dangerous if you run into it. It's gotta be back a certain distance. I don't know how far that would be, so I gotta do some investigation there.
Did anything ever get done with the boat launch, with the stone, with the blacktop? I haven't been down there in like 2 weeks, but 2 weeks ago there wasn't anything.
With the decks, I'm not sure. You mean rubble?
Yeah, where that it's washing the blacktop away.
Let me check on that. Okay. Anything else? All righty, report, superintendent report. Paving has been done on several streets. James, Ames. A couple others, I can't remember right now, and working on the shoulder. The last couple of years, they've been putting gravel and material on the shoulders to keep it from cracking when people go on and off. It's quite a dramatic difference when you walk around and look at roads that don't have that done and roads that, the newer roads that do have that done. It really makes a big difference in keeping the road intact. Getting the equipment ready for winter. And Mike and Ryan are going to get their water licenses next week. All I can remember from his report. And treasurer, Eric had a dog emergency. So he dropped his reports off and then had to take his pup to the emergency vet. So, financial update. Last meeting, it was reported that our auditor submitted the 22-23 annual financial report and began conducting fiscal year 23-24 monthly reconciliations. The comptroller requested a couple tweaks made to the 22-23 AFR, and we did that and resubmitted it yesterday. And the third quarter federal 941 has been filed, and we'll have to here what that is. Well, that quarter local, our New York State local retirement system has been moving to an quote enhanced quote reporting system. Eric has been taking online training and working with Neisler's staff to transition to the new system. Round Lake should be fully migrated by the end of the month. Chief.
Howdy, folks. So quiet month, relatively speaking, what you can call about 645 man hours for training and everything, et cetera, that we do for the department. Halloween, we're gonna have 2 trucks in the village. One will be down here at the post office and one will be over by the auditorium. We're thinking about that 6:30 window to about 8 o'clock. That works for everybody. 544 will be here. It was actually going to be March. They pushed it back to February because they had a problem with the truck in front of us. So we'll be a month earlier than we were expecting, which is good news. We're hosting an IFO/BFO class in the fire department, so it's going to be busy up there a few nights a week now, right through the end of the year. It's a firefighter 1 class. So we're actually hosting one before this year, this time around. So you'll see a lot of different folks in and out of the firehouse. Will be a lot of activity there over the next month. And other than that, that's about it. A little plug for Malta Ridge. They are doing a drive-through chicken dinner at the shared station tomorrow night from 4 to 7. So if anybody's looking for a barbecue chicken dinner for Brooks, you know, just think it's $15 a drive-through for dinner. So
4 to 7.
Yep. That's all I got, folks.
At the shared station.
At the shared station. Yep. Thank you.
Thank you. Code enforcement.
Lots of projects, but nobody seems to be finishing anything. We're having a lot of issues with the stormwater system at Griffin's Bridge. With some of the residents building sheds and patios, and you know, it's a very tiny site, so the stormwater system really can't be messed with. And very shortly, Belmonte's trying to turn it over to the village. We'll take over the stormwater system, so we don't want any problems when that happens. So I think we're in for a bit of a fight with Belmonte on what he has to do. I'm sure he doesn't want to do it. Other than that, oddly enough, we had somebody try to renew their short-term rental, And I realized that on our website, that the form is wrong. I tried to fix it, but I can't fix it on the website. I can print out a new and get it to the person. Other than that, that's it. I'd like to be starting the fire inspections, but, I'd like to first deal with the stormwater. That's it.
Okay, thank you. And parking.
No additional tickets, but Tom and I are still hanging on to get this trial over with. It's been, and I checked out this dog wellness complaint. The dog wasn't there for me to see, so I'm gonna keep after that tomorrow.
Auditorium. Did I see David up there? David, you want to say anything, or just that you'll be on the agenda for next month?
Hi, you can hear me.
Yes.
Cool. I'm mostly here if you have questions for Paul Santi, but yeah, I will have like a full an actual report for the November meeting. I'm talking with Carpe Diem right now. They've gave me dates. So I've got a meeting with them tomorrow night. So I'll be able to kind of present a rough overview of what we will be programming next season. Not super specific, but kind of just like a overview of it. So that is a cliffhanger for me to keep you interested.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Paul Sandy request was the first thing we'll be discussing after the committee reports. And
Okay.
Clerk.
Let's see, fall ball is played, from now until the end of October, on Saturdays and Wednesdays. And
Oh, Wednesdays too.
what's that?
Wednesdays too.
Wednesdays, well, until the sun actually goes down, but they were there tonight. UPS is reminding, or the post office is reminding us that the mail never stops. So the post office is asking people to pick up their mail accordingly to the mail you receive. If you know you're getting packages, you know you're gonna get a lot of mail, come and pick it up steadily and don't let it accumulate. During the holidays, they're really tight on space, and accumulating packages is just gonna make it a nightmare. Thank you. Okay.
Okay. And tree committee.
Yeah, just a couple of updates. We have to water the newly planted trees for at least a year. And so the members have been watering trees every week. And we're gonna be ending that pretty soon. It's been a lot easier with the golf cart. Because it's crazy to have buckets of water sloshing around in your car. So the golf cart's been working out great. Last month, we organized a tree pruning workshop. Jeff Speech, the arborist, came down and helped us out. We had committee members and the whole DPW crew attend. And it was a really great workshop. We did a classroom work here, and then went out into the parks for a couple of hours, and it was really, eye-opening. A lot of interesting stuff. So, and you all know we received the DEC grant for tree maintenance. And there's a bunch of tasks associated with that. We've got to take before and after photos of each tree. And Eric's been working on that. He's come up with a system to track it. We've got to wrap it all up and present it to the DEC during the grant. We got to prove that the trees were there and then removed. Mark has gone out with the arborist to do a secondary review of the removals. We've got to do that because the data now is 2 years old. The inventory was done back in 22, so they require that we go through just to double check. Things change. Some of the trees actually fell down. Some are taken down. And some conditions actually changed, from, let's say, poor to dead or something like that. So we did a whole review of that. He gave me the data, then I updated the inventory, because the inventory has to be updated and presented to the TC also. And Paul has been developing RFPs and the scope of work for the actual work to be done for removals and pruning. And we got to make sure those are tight and have all the requirements in there that the DEC needs for this grant to succeed and get that money back. Finally, the other requirement is outreach and education for the grant. So Laura and Amy are working on posting on social media, and we'll be having other kinds of outreach and presentations, and just showing up here like this just to tell everybody what's going on. But it's moving along, but I didn't realize there were so many details to be done for a grant, but it's moving along. Thanks.
And you sincerely thank the committee for your work on this, because it is, grants are nice, but they are a lot of work. We leave it at that. Okay, earlier today, I emailed the board the information we got from David and Paul discussing the use of the community room for off-season rehearsals. You should have a copy of that in your board packet as well. And Eric provided last year's information. David provided to Eric.
Yeah. I basically just looked at the report from last year and just wanted to show what the number breakout was.
Yeah, and the bottom line is we ended up making, well, $600 or something, $700. And after all expenses were paid, so. That's something to keep in mind when you peruse this and decide whether we're okay with it or not.
The only edit I have to that is I had a miscommunication with Paul. I thought that he said that he didn't want next Wednesday or Thursday, and instead that he wanted the 30th and 31st, but he was actually curious if he would be able to use the space next Wednesday or Thursday, pending the availability of the person he was going to meet with.
You know what time that is, David?
I think he's flexible. I think he was planning for morning.
Okay, but earlier in the day.
Yeah. Yeah, I think for the Wednesday, Thursday times he was thinking early. And then he had mentioned that if he was going to do like a regular Friday evening or Saturday morning, that would just work well for people like it's the end of the work week. But I don't know how easy Friday evenings would be with the building locked and that kind of thing. So basically I presented it as he had requested to me last night, and then depending on what we decide what the community room is used for, we can get back to him on the availability of the space.
I mean, there's a couple of conflicts, but as far as dates, but it's up to the board to sort of talk over the other pieces to it.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay, thank you.
Where the conflicts in.
Like Markets is here on a Friday night.
Okay.
Let's see,
So
for
usually-
the 22nd, I think they're doing that in November, and then December 7th is the gingerbread houses.
Okay.
And then as you're looking at that paper, the bottom left spreadsheet is tentative dates for his 2025 performance, which kind of mirrors the uses that he had for the 2023. So it's about the same amount of hours that he used the auditorium in 2023.
No board members, what say you?
So the date, David, the May 27th through 31st, that's auditorium. And then, okay, and then everything else is community.
Yeah. So I was basically thinking he would be able to use the auditorium from like April through the end of May. Because he's basically going away. He said somewhere warm for January, February, and March. So I think he was just hoping to get a jump start on meeting with dancers. And that's why he wanted to use the community room as a warmer space because the auditorium is closed.
My only thing is I feel like the stuff we already have that are in conflict, we should work around that. Especially. A lot of fun for kids every year.
I agree.
Yeah. So those 2 dates, I would suggest you find other times.
Or adjust the times. Yeah.
Adjust the times, find other times. Other than that, I'm cool with the reversal schedule, performance week is,
And the understanding that it's not exclusive. People will be coming in for lunch,
right.
to heat their lunch up and use the bathrooms,
Right.
and things like that.
Not a given, that it can be repeated, like automatically be assumed that you can do it because it's a separate use. If we don't, it's a non-conforming use of space. Something like that.
It's the gray area.
Right.
Yes, right.
Right.
As far as the performance week, that's really down to the auditorium director, as far as I'm concerned.
Right.
It's not really anything we got to decide on, it's really the community room use, and so that would be my feedback would be for the 2 pre-existing arrangements that we have for him to work around those, and to your point, Gary, that it's, he makes the space available to anybody that needs to use it for lunch or bathroom, whatever.
I'm fine with it as well, for the most part. One question I guess I have is, do you see contracts for these things?
For the community room, we have,
You did sign something with Paul before, I feel like. I don't know what the document was. It was the auditorium.
definitely the
Would
auditorium.
it be part of the contract with the auditorium, requesting the space?
This is where it's the gray area, because we don't really have a policy for renting the community.
Right.
Or using the community room for non-public purposes. That's the gray area.
And the question I have is that, is there any liability associated with that for us?
Thomas,
Liability associated with using the community.
does he need to provide insurance or a waiver or something if he's having dance rehearsals in here?
This is a village event. The village shares in the profits. I believe we are covered by our own insurance.
Okay. So we are good, given those stipulations, that we work around the previously scheduled events for the community room. And realize that it's not non-exclusive use.
We're allowing him in the space, we're not allowing him to have exclusive use of the space.
Yes.
And I do think we ought to look at our community room use policy as well. I think we're having some more of these sorts of sticky situations. I think we need to address with policy.
Okay, anything else, David?
Hey, David.
Hey, sorry.
I was gonna ask, is there a contract from last year with Paul for the auditorium?
There is, yeah. I can send it to you in the same email thread.
Thank you.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
that
Yeah.
was-
Yeah, and I guess what I can do is because I do feel like moving forward with his performance would be good. So I will make up a new contract, basically modeling that one. And then pretty much everything y'all discussed about the community room, I mentioned to him about how like he's not expecting to do every Friday, Saturday. He basically just would like to have those available times to schedule times with the people that he works with. So I think this will all work out really well. Thank you for the time.
All right, and you'll get in touch with them?
I can, yeah. And then Susan, do you mind working with him on the scheduling, or would you like to just let me know which times aren't available and I can
Well, no, I
be
don't,
the liaison?
I'll work with them on that, but at this point, it's just
Okay,
the two events that we have for the holidays.
okay. That's what I thought. Yeah, I knew the holiday market would conflict, so,
Right, yeah,
and I wasn't sure what the times were for that, so.
right. I'll send those over to you.
Okay, and then I guess the only other question I have is Friday evenings. Would I need to come over and unlock the building for him?
Yeah.
Or,
But-
okay,
Yeah, if you could do earlier than that, if you could do 5:30 or before Oz leaves, then we just.
Yep.
make sure it gets locked up after,
okay, so he could basically just make sure he closes the crash bar door.
right?
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, all right.
Thank you so much. I'm gonna go back to the soccer game here.
Okay, good luck.
All right, ciao,
Um,
ciao.
Bye.
Tom, do we need a resolution for this or just sense of the board?
How about a sense of the board, and then when we get that marked up, draft contract, we'll enact that by resolution.
Okay. My reading of the sense of the board is that we're okay with it? Yeah. Okay. Alrighty, next, park hours. When, I got a couple complaints about, late night stuff going on at the basketball court. It reminded me of, some shenanigans that had gone on at the ball field a year or two back. And one of the issues was that we don't officially, to the best of my knowledge, have official open and closing hours for our parks. I know that we do have the curfew, which says, I think, sticks to
10 a.m. to 6
10 p.m.
Yeah.
Pretty much across the board. So I'm wondering if that would be a place to start looking at, sort of, if we call the sheriff and say, hey, these people have to be run out of here because, park closes at 10.
Or we could make a sign that says park closes at 9, closed between 9 p.m. and sun.
And what?
Sun.
Going to dusk or something.
Right.
Yeah, I don't wanna do a dawn to dusk, I would rather have it at 9 or 10 p.m. Only because I think if there's things like that.
Yeah.
It's like, I think something like 9 or 10 p.m. is fine, I mean.
I think if the curfew is 10 p.m., that would coincide with a good time.
Yeah.
But the question I have is, do we want to exclude all, that would include any foot traffic? You're not, if we close the park, you can't even walk through the park after 10 o'clock. So would we want to, would it be more of a noise issue or an occupancy issue?
Actually, that's a good point.
Like somebody couldn't go walk their dog down. the ball
Basketball
field.
closed 9 to sun.
And baseball field.
We have a problem with the baseball field?
Oh, we have in the past. Yeah, so specify, pardon?
Why would the transport not be included?
Because I forgot.
Anything else we want to throw in there? Shooting ground.
Playgrounds, yeah.
Playground. Yeah.
If we enact it for parks, it would cover all parks.
Right, and that's too broad. Because that would include, which is most around lake. I want-
How about recreation?
Yeah, it becomes difficult to define, I know what you're trying to say, activity,
Yeah.
yeah.
But we would almost have to gear it more towards the activity on the property. No basketball, baseball, tennis, what's the other thing?
I don't think they're playing basketball in the weather.
No, they are.
Making noise and.
They're doing that, I mean, they are, because there's nice lights there. One of the things that attracted me to Round Lake 35 years ago, when I used to play basketball, I said, oh my God, lighted basketball. court."
The lights on timer.
Yeah, we checked that out already.
We already have that covered.
Would loitering be a sufficient, you know, in other words, you're hanging around the place?
But it's okay unless it's closed.
That's what I'm saying, like, we say loitering is not allowed permitted in village parkland after 10 p.m. or something like that. Like, in other words, if you're passing through, it's fine, if you're hanging around, it's not. But I don't know if that's illegal.
Well, shall we ponder this and
Yeah.
revisit it
I think-
next month, because it's a little more complicated than I thought.
Well,
Yeah,
And I was just saying, like, the curfew one is, like, we have it on the records, we just don't, like,
Haven't enforced
we
it.
haven't enforced it,
Right.
and I suppose it would be like the.
But the
park one could be
curfew
the
is
same
also
thing.
only under 18.
18 and under, yeah, and that's anywhere in the village, not just on
Right.
park.
Right.
So this
Okay.
is something specific.
But then we still have the light, problem.
Yeah.
It's
on
not,
my list.
not solvable by time. The only thing it's solvable by is if we can put a shield on it. I don't know.
Which is solely a nicing. If that's a nicing problem, that's not even something that we can enforce.
And as I think most people would say, I had a light.
Yeah, I have one 5 feet, 10 feet in front of my.
I mean, we have over the years shut off streetlights, so.
And I think
Few a day.
it's more that they burned out and weren't
Yeah,
replaced.
well,
Not necessarily.
Thank you.
You know, somebody shot them.
No, I don't know that, but. I think the ones they were out, nobody pushed to have them on.
Right, that's right.
This time of year they do, because it gets darker earlier and.
All right, so we'll put that on the agenda to revisit for the next meeting.
How long does the light at the basketball, it's all night, right?
It's on my.
Yeah, it's the same thing, but it's a street light, it's a street light, it's not a specific light for the court, it just happens that there's a light there. What about where, if we, just spitballing here, where posted, if we just add the item where posted. And then so we would just put up the signs where in the specific areas that we would want to prohibit.
If we did that, that would make sense.
So email me your ideas.
Yeah.
Over the next week or so, and I'll run them by Tom, and we'll try to get something together that makes sense and addresses the issue.
Could we get control of that light?
No. We had to train, the problem with that is then we have to train you guys to swap out the lights and that's.
Oh, yeah.
And get the equipment, cherry picker.
There's a lot of advantages to having, let's say.
I don't think you can even do that because they're line sight.
Correct. Yeah, yeah.
That would, we'd have to set up a whole electrical meter at every light. And it would be transferred into our responsibility. And there's a huge cost associated.
Many years ago, Chris Nelson did a survey of lights and I had lights removed. I mean,
Chris and I walked around the whole
yeah,
village. We
so
did
it was not a big issue. Say, we had 3 lights on my little street, and
Yeah.
so we had one removed.
Yeah.
It was not a big
We
deal.
did identify 1 or 2 when we replaced the LEDs that were, but I mean, to be honest, like the ones that are there. Yes, they shine in people's windows, but they're also there for visibility. That, I mean, we live in a very close, streets on that.
And a lot of people walk at all hours.
Yes, exactly.
More.
And a unfortunately high number of people drive too fast,
Yeah,
including village residents.
yeah. And the other thing I'll just add, final note on that is we put in the lowest wattage possible streetlights in the core of the village as well. So they, although they are bright, I agree, they are the least bright in the LEDs.
So if that light burned out, would we, go? I mean, they have these things that 22s.
Kids would call and say, hey, I was playing basketball and the lights out.
Happen at a gym sometimes, and
Yeah.
with my shot anyways. For next month, we continued, and Wireless contract, Tom walked in, the Wireless contract that,
The last Wireless contract was signed late 2017, effective January 1st, 2018, and it had a provision that it automatically rolled over. Yeah, it might be a good idea simply to re-execute this. I have been informed that the barbecue, which is part of this draft you have in front of you, is now an AP3 project. So I would recommend simply getting rid of the 2 mentions of the Round Lake barbecue. And other than that, it would be a continuation of the agreement we already had.
There'll be no changes?
It should make Dave Hager happy.
No changes, Thomas?
Except crossing out Round Lake, Round Lake Farm.
Okay.
So for the last couple of years, we've been doing resolutions for,
No, this contract is rolled over.
well, I know, but for the last 2 or 3 years, we've been doing resolutions for markets and the antique show. Are those unnecessary?
Now, those are to close off the streets and
Right.
things like that.
So that's the
Those are
separate issue.
specific.
This doesn't cover that.
Right.
Got it. So,
And Dave, on the third page, the third paragraph, Berla shall procure a certificate of insurance of at least $1 million, naming at least itself and Village of Round Lake as co-insured for any and all liabilities from the holding of the wireless events described herein. Is that sufficient for you?
I just looked at it quickly, Tom. Did it include a hold harmless? I just looked at it quickly, and usually from an insurance point of view, we recommend to our clients on any contract to have, the fancy word is indemnification, but basically Wireless would hold harmless to village for any claims arising out of
Could
Wireless.
you email that?
Which are
me?
not otherwise covered by insurance.
Yes, oh yeah,
Okay,
they are. I mean, it's probably public information. I mean, we insure Wireless and have since before most of you were born. It's a long time, let's put it that way. And so their policy would contemplate that kind of thing. You wouldn't be putting a requirement on them that was burdensome.
okay.
Good, thanks.
I will request a motion authorizing me to sign this.
So move.
second,
Discussion?
with that correction.
Correct.
Yeah.
The changes discussed.
Yes.
Yes.
So I have a quick question. $1 million is the insurance policy. That's from 5 years ago. Inflation, things have changed. Is $1 million sufficient? Everybody tosses around $1 million because it's a nice convenient number. I have no idea if that's a good number. I mean, it's 5 years past, and it's probably from before, probably 1980.
No, this was new because we didn't have a contract
Oh.
prior. So
And I had no idea. I just.
What do you think, Dave?
Of course, I can't remember whether Wireless has an umbrella policy or not. So I don't know if they don't have an umbrella policy, it would be putting that extra cost on them. Not outrageous, I would guess maybe $750 a year.
Okay,
Uh,
so I'll find out whether they have an umbrella policy, and if so, I'll take their basic policy plus their umbrella, add them together, and put that figure in here.
Yeah, do you want me to give you a call tomorrow on that?
Sure.
Yeah, great.
And we're trying to cost for this money.
So do we need to amend the resolution?
No.
All right, Tom?
Yes.
Jason?
Yes.
Matt?
Yes.
Eric?
Yes.
Yes. All right, the correspondence. Do we have any correspondence?
No. Yeah, first off.
Okay. Thank you, and approval of minutes for September 18th, 2024.
For September 18th,
Mhm.
I'll make a motion.
Second,
Second.
second, discussion? Tom?
No. Yes.
Jason?
Yes.
Eric?
Yes.
Yes.
I'm an abstention.
Abstention, sorry. Approval of abstract. The treasurer has provided the September abstract for approval, which includes August prepaid invoices and September claims. The total for the September abstract is $655,633.19. is to be approved for fund as follows. A fund, which is the general fund, $653, $292.22. F fund, which is the water, $1,773.91. G fund, which is the sewer, $567.06.
Second.
Discussion?
Yes.
No? Jason?
Yes.
Matt?
Yes.
Eric?
Yes.
Yes. Mr. Village Attorney.
Once upon a time, we wrote into the land development district legislation for Griffin's Ridge. That it would not have a sign saying Griffin's Ridge because we wanted to emphasize the fact that it is part of the village, it's not its own entity. The owner came back and said, can I put up a sign that says Griffin's Ridge while we still have lots to sell? The board said yes. My understanding is all the lots have been sold, and I'm wondering whether we want to get rid of or modify the sign. Maybe Round Lake and Griffin's Ridge neighborhood, or just a sign that says Round Lake. But since there's no connectivity between that neighborhood and the remainder of the village, if we guide people in there, they're kind of stuck if they wanted to get anywhere else from the village. I just wanted to bring that up for the board to chew on for a while.
I'd have to get out. It's a substantial sign, isn't it? It's not just like a.
It's not a box for sale sign, no, it's a. It's a standard construct.
All right. That's our homework. Go down, take a look at it, refresh your memory on what it looks like, and. But it's got the stone.
Yeah.
Towel, so it's just a little removal project.
Oh, I don't think we'd be removing the whole thing, I just think we'd be modifying the sign.
Well, I'll add that to my list of signs that I have to investigate for the Van Patten property and Ryan Park.
That's all I have.
All right, got a couple things here. Election day is November 5th. Now, if you look up here, that's the sample of the ballot for District 3. Emphasizing this, look below, don't forget these spaces down here. There's, forget what rows they are, I think Matt knows. What row H is?
Row H.
So these rows here, and if you want to write N down here, so don't forget that. We usually have 100 or 150 people who just vote up here and don't make it down here. And also, there's at least one proposition on the back, so don't forget to flip the ballot. There's Electronic Waste Collection Day, October 19th. You all should have got information on that in your email. Blood drive, November 5th at the firehouse. Again, you should have got information on that. Halloween candy donations will be accepted at the village office until October 25th. This will be distributed around the auditorium to houses most heavily visited by the trick-or-treaters. Food pantry donations can be dropped off at the municipal building until October 18th and will be added to the donations for the zombie walk benefiting LifeWorks Community Action. October 26th, Round Lake Malta Little League Trunk or Treat at the ball field, December 10 a.m. to noon. October 31st, we have the haunted house at the auditorium
5 p.m.
at 5 p.m. Thank you. Reminder, please check with code enforcement Peter Sheridan at buildings@roundlakevillage.org, building singular at roundlakevillage.org, prior to any remodeling projects, interior or exterior. You have some issues where improvements made on one homeowner's property caused flooding in a neighboring property. Public hearing, set October 29th at 12:30, 1:30 for Half Moon Senior Center, 287 Lower Newtown Road for, this is a county project for programs for the aging for year 2025. Might have to go check that out. Public comment. And last but not least, David and Dustin. Insurance, you're on.
The opportunity for.
But you can't read, but.
I assume. Oh,
Yeah, absolutely.
haven't met Eric or. Jason.
Yeah, Tom, Jason is on the end,
Okay.
Matt,
Yeah.
and then Eric right here next to Tom.
Yep. And some are familiar, I'm Dave Meager, this is Dustin Hall. We're, been privileged to insure the village, many years, and we've got the summary, which I'm gonna go through tonight. And this is an annual event, that we come every year. And I think I mentioned last year, Dustin, has been attending these meetings with me, as a way to learn the business. I think our boss said, I want you to be Dave Shadd, right, Dustin? Yep. And, so we've been doing that in very good company, just to give him his due. Spent 5 years in the, US Navy on an aircraft carrier. And as you all know, the aircraft carriers don't go to Bermuda. So he was in the hot spots. And, after he left the Navy, graduated from Syracuse University in 3 years and, has joined us and just became a father. Not that long ago. So, lots going on, Justin. By the way, what kind of time limit would you like?
60 seconds.
You. I can do it.
Jeopardy starts at 7:30.
Yes.
That's our biggest guy.
Yes.
Okay, so run through it, sort of quickly, and you've all got the insurance, summary. Which,
That's where it's going to that meeting.
which, so if any of you somehow were looking at it in your spare time and had a question, I would encourage you to call. For me, coming to these meetings, there's so many happy memories. I'm a native of Round Lake, brought up in Round Lake. When I see the Orient sign, I remember the Orient when it was a standing building. And I wouldn't say I did it, but some of my friends would actually go inside of the building as the statute of limitations went out. Can I say that I accompanied them on those excursions? And this, of course, you all know, used to be a drugstore. Had many a milkshake here, and it was a great place, and still is a great place to be brought up. You know, people left their doors open. You could ride your bicycle all over the community. And the great thing about Round Lake is that it hasn't changed. It's basically the same as it was when I was brought up here. And not many communities in Saratoga County can make that statement. So, but anyway, I'd like to come to one of your historical meetings sometime, because there's a lot of stories I can tell about being brought up in the village. One thing just quickly, the part we're gonna go through tonight is the municipal part, the fire department. You won't see the fire trucks on these vehicles. The fire department is insured separately. We do get together and review that with the fire department officials at the appropriate time. The reason we divide it up is the company that insures the fire departments is the dividend paying company, and
not last year, but the 2 years before that, they paid 15% dividend, which everybody likes getting money back from an insurance company. It's just irresistible. So that's the reason we do that. So, I think we could quickly go to page 3, and this is where we list your various buildings and contents. And the best part about it is what Selective, you're insured with Selective, and actually they pay dividends if that group is profitable, but not with the consistency of the fire department. So page 3 are all your buildings and your contents, you know, water tower. The key word here is blanket. What Selective does, they add up all of these amounts on all your buildings and contents, and they come to a total of 4.2 million. And so the way the coverage works is if you have a claim on any of these buildings, like this one, which is certainly underinsured by any measurement, you can always access the blanket. So if this building, I can't imagine it being totally destroyed. I mean, it's been here for as long as I can remember, and that's a long time. But if it happened, you could access the 4.2. So another way of saying it, you got 4.2 on this building because of that blanket feature. You have $1,000. It's replacement cost coverage, by the way. So that means any claim you have on the building and contents, nobody's going to take depreciation on that claim. And the other thing on the page is you have $1,000 deductible, but it's what's called a disappearing deductible. So that means as the claim approaches 10,000, the deductible is getting less and less. When the claim goes over 10,000, there's no deductible. So any questions on that page? Okay, then over to page 4 is your general liability. General liability is, as Tom knows, it falls into several categories: slips and fall. Anybody who gets hurt on village property, it would come under here. Now it looks like you got a $1 million limit, but you got a $3 million umbrella, so you really got $4 million as a liability limit for a slip and fall kind of claim. Also, you have coverage under general liability for what's called potable water. If there was a claim that the water was contaminated, that's covered under here. Also, you have data breach and cyber liability. That's a big hot issue today. And basically, I won't spend a lot of time on it, but one word I would use to describe cyber liability is hacking. In other words, if somebody hacks into your computer system and they get private information, and that private information is compromised under state law, you are required, and this insurance will pay for that, to notify those people, to provide them credit counseling. And also, what it does, you're going to want to say to your IT person, how did that happen? And we don't want it to happen again. You don't have a lot of ransom coverage here. The experts today in cyber insurance are recommending ransom, you know, is where they get in to lock up your system and say, if we'll unlock your system if you pay us a wire transfer and cryptocurrency to some distant point, and then we'll unlock your system. The thinking today is that you should never pay ransom for several reasons. Number one is you're dealing with a criminal. Number two, you're dealing with a criminal who's outside the jurisdiction of the US. Number three, there's no guarantee that once you pay the ransom, that they're going to unlock the system, or that they're not going to unlock it and then lock it up again. So I'm not too concerned about the fact that there isn't a high limit there. So any questions on that page?
What does retention mean?
Oh, deductible. That's a good question. It's another word for deductible. Yeah. Okay. Then over to page 5, and this we can do pretty quickly. Again, your auto, this is automobile liability, and we list your vehicles here. Again, the million is supplemented by the $3 million umbrella, so you really got $4 million for any one auto accident. Really, the way to read this page are those two right-hand columns, one's the comprehensive deductible, one's the collision deductible. And in a couple of places, there's an asterisk, and the asterisk means they're just covered on the next page. So, no questions there. Page 6. I don't know why insurance companies use such mysterious language like inland marine, but what they're basically talking about is your municipal equipment. And you have $1,000 deductible, it's all listed here. I know it gets reviewed by your highway department and Sue and Eric, everybody's involved. I think Eric pretty much handled the renewal process this year. And that's that. In the umbrella that I mentioned earlier, there's that $3 million. It applies over the general, over the auto, and over the public officials, which we haven't got to yet. That's okay on page 6. Okay. Page 7, public officials. That is the policy that protects all elected and appointed officials for things like violation of civil rights, sexual harassment, wrongful termination, discrimination in hiring, things of that nature. I believe also you have a local law that says that the village will protect and indemnify you for claims against you arising out of your membership of the village board. So you've got sort of two protections there. There's a crime policy. I guess a lot of people say it's a bond. Basically, it's a bond. It protects and again, I love that word blanket, because that means we're not listing people. We're saying if anybody who has access to money, basically this would be embezzlement of village money. There's 200,000 limit for that. And at the bottom of the page, your workers' comp is through, the county has a self-insurance plan. So the workers' comp on your employees is through the county. But we do write a disability policy, and during one of these reviews a few years ago, I pointed out that the limit was low and the board agreed to raise up that limit. Workers' comp, of course, pays on the job injury, and disability pays off the job salary reimbursement. Let me go over to page 8. You'll see that the premium is up a bit, and that's what we're finding. Maybe some of you have seen your auto and homeowners premiums. The same thing is reflected with premiums for public entities like towns and villages and cities. But part of the reason too was that the company increased the amount on your buildings and contents by 5%. And also your public officials policy is based on population, and your population increased.
Yeah, I had a question about that actually. I would like to know, I see that the population increase from 850 to 1245. I don't believe the population of the village is 1245, I'm close to it.
Census was 820.
Yeah, 828.
Oh, great.
Census.
So that's why we meet like this. It's
Now Wikipedia has it as 1245, which I don't know if that was where it's pulled from.
I'm wondering.
I've had Wikipedia.
Yeah, I'm wondering where they got that. I assume they got it from an application, but they could have got it through their own research.
It might have been.
So,
So it's definitely.
could maybe Sue, could you send me an email or something and say the population of the village in the last census was X, whatever it was?
828.
And that will be, what that does, that affects the public officials' premium.
Good.
So, that's great there. And then over on page 9, just quickly, I'll mention things that we like to do. I've already mentioned the amount on the buildings and contents with like 5%. Certificates of insurance is sort of like the thing we were talking about earlier about the contract with Wireless. Anytime you have a contract with anybody, I'm glad to look at it from an insurance point of view. I'm not looking at it from a legal point of view. You've got a very good attorney who I've worked with many years in my capacity as town supervisor. And So, but we're glad to look at the contract from an insurance point of view, just to make sure that the risk is transferred from you to the contractor. Just quickly mention, you don't have earthquake and flood, and other than that, that's a quick review, and I think that picking up the population thing was a catch, which will work to the village's benefit. And we'll get that policy endorsed.
Dave, can I ask you a question? You have coverage for the village board. How about the zoning board and the planning board?
Yes,
Okay.
and you in your various capacities.
We don't have flood insurance.
Yeah, you.
I mean, just based on recent events happening in North and South Carolina. Is flood insurance something we should be considering?
Or do we have numbers on it?
Yeah, or something.
Yeah,
Are we coming in flood zone C?
Yeah,
Are we?
that's what I was gonna say. I don't know if any of your buildings are in a flood zone. I mean, not that they have to be, not that they have to be. Flood insurance is fairly pricey.
Right.
But, you know, we're glad that,
No village buildings.
no, I don't know if I want to.
The flooding last July, was there any damage to village property last year?
I know.
Because there's a lot of damage. Okay.
I don't know if I should admit this, but I've lived here since 1948. And there's never been a flood during that period.
It's bad.
But that doesn't mean it can't happen. I mean, I have a grandson, who was living in Asheville and moved out 1 month before what happened at Asheville. And I said to him, "What happened to your property?" He said, "It's underwater." He was a renter, but, so strange things are happening with weather. And,
Now,
you know, if you think.
If we had a water pipe break.
Oh, that's not flood.
Okay.
Yeah, bursting water pipes.
The water
is not
damage
flood.
and
Flood is rising waters that damage to properties. But bursting water pipe, I think we had a bursting water pipe. Did we have a bursting water pipe plan a few years ago?
Yes, we did.
Upstairs?
Yep.
And that's covered subject to that disappearing deductible. Okay,
Thank
good
you.
questions, but thank you, and thank you for your loyalty, and I'm with bigger amounts, still at my, still at my post, we were, the family agency, I joined an agency founded by my mother and father, and I joined them, and we were rather unimaginatively named, but appropriately named Round Lake Company. And 24 years ago, I sold my agency to Adirondack Trust, and they took over the name of Hampshire and acquired several agencies much larger than mine. But I remember and I'll end with this, when I signed the contract to sell the agency, they said, "You're gonna stay for 5 years." They didn't think 24 years. They didn't know who they were working with. But thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
All right, any more public comment before we go into executive session?
I have one question.
Yeah.
Bill Howard. Has there been any progress made on this?
I've been talking to them, they're in the process of assembling what they're gonna put together. That's what I've gotten out of it.
There were some drawings, they just, I don't know if they were, some sketches, but they weren't well engineered drawings, but there were some drawings that were distributed at one of the meetings. That
And I
had
thought
Oh,
dimensions.
Our whole
things like that.
contract was based on approval of the engineered drawings.
Well, they sent the drawings in and everybody looked at them about a month ago. More than a month ago, we haven't filled, the minutes. So we just assumed that you guys, I don't know what you're looking for.
I thought we were gonna get the actual construction engineered drawings, not just like the conceptual.
And the drawings that were provided to us were complete. I mean, literally it said engineer must fill in information here and it wasn't there.
I'll talk to them about it and say, they've had their structural engineers come here, look at it,
If they're building stuff, they should have a set of drawings.
well, they have drawings, but you're saying you want,
Like the drawings that address how the connection to the building was going to take place.
gotcha, okay,
The exactly how, what type of materials was going to be used, what are the
gotcha, okay.
means to anchor things together. That was part of what we were all looking for in the very beginning, the drawings.
And pardon me for saying, but to be absolutely crystal clear, the board did not vote to accept those drawings. We never voted on anything related about that. We got them, we sort of discussed them, but we never voted on, this is what we want. Well, the reason I'm a little frustrated is last month, we had already paid down for the next installment, which we weren't supposed to until we got the approved drawings. So we've already paid them for something that we weren't supposed to. So I'm a little concerned with the way this is being managed, I guess, because I don't know what they're doing. Like, I keep hearing things like, well, they can put it up anytime when there's no snow. Well, does that mean they're going to show up on October 31st when there's the entire event over there? Like, I'm very concerned about like what they're planning, what we want from them, what we've approved from them, what we've paid to them. All of that is starting to feel like it's spinning. That's just a little bit of frustration. I'm thinking, this is us. This is not. This is not because we have ability.
I'll get you, I'll push that, I'll push that.
Okay. Yeah, that was something that we definitely talked about and said that before they even started doing the construction, we were supposed to have a full working drawing, the engineers stamp drawing. So that way we know what they're doing, everybody's on the same exact page, not just they show up and they go to do stuff and they start slinging out change orders. Because they claim that they see things that this is different, that's different, where if we had the full drawing in front of us, we would actually be able to look at things and be able to be on the same page.
Okay, okay, go on.
Do you get any provisions on what's gonna happen if you get 4 or 5 foot of frost in the ground there and you put this thing up and the ground heaves and
My guess is that if it's, the weather gets really bad, they're not gonna do it this year, they'll wait until spring, that would be my guess. I mean, again, we're asking them for more information, they're,
Peter, it's a local company that's overseeing this, right?
What?
It's a local company
yes,
that's overseeing it, maybe, I don't know, maybe have them. Maybe.
yeah, I could ask them to come and do a presentation, yeah.
Hey, motion to enter executive session to discuss the employment history of a particular person or persons. So, that discussion. Aye. Eric? Yes. Yes. Thank you all.
And I just want to be clear, I'm the building inspector, I'm not the builder for the village. And not my job.
Right, it is not.
Good night, folks. Okay.
All right, we should have some.
Well, engineering firm is a civil law, not a structural.
Because if we want to do large projects,